We look forward
Yeah,
to
let's.
learning. Hmm.
Yes, I hope so. If you guys have any specific questions, please do write in the box, the comment box, and I'll answer them. Maybe I'll ask them like if you have something like really specific or like um relevant to the topic, feel free to pop your hand up and I can answer them then. I'll try and do them at the end as well because we've got so much to go through, so I hope we can finish everything. Okay. So wait for a few more people to join before we get started. I hope you can all see my screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. This is actually my first webinar that I've done without anyone else actually. So I usually do I do a lot of teaching. I did do a lot of teaching before, but not in and not in this respect. So I sometimes do masterclasses or webinars on one topic, but not done one on a huge bombshell like this. So I'm really excited. I hope this will change some perspective soon. If there's any suggestions for future webinars, I am all ears. I want to do this more often.
It's a really good idea, and I love the topic. Luca's also gonna tune in with me, so we're both excited to listen.
Oh, fab. Amazing. Hi, Luca, if you're there already.
Hello. Hey.
Hi, Luca. How are you doing?
Good. You? Hey. Hi, guys.
Hey. Yeah. Really good, thanks. Thanks so much for joining.
Thanks for arranging. It's amazing. Great topics.
How are the bees today?
He's seeing them tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
That's
Nice.
good. Good to hear.
Thank you.
Okay,
Charlie's
good. I think I might get started soon. Sorry.
Charlie's also here as well.
Hi,
Hi,
Laura.
Charlie. Nice to meet you. I've
How you
heard
doing? You
so much
okay?
about you.
I just
Yeah,
not.
really
It's all
good,
good
thank
stuff,
you.
right?
Yeah, all good stuff. Yeah.
I panicked then.
Won't be making too many recommendations. Sorry?
I said I panicked then.
Nah, it's all good. I think like I've popped in quite a lot of like interesting nuggets, so hopefully it'll be really interesting. So I see that
Yes.
we've also got Steffi, Andy, Aaliyah, Adeline. Let's see who else we've got. Okay, so I think we got a good good house at the moment. So anyone else who needs to join, they can do so whilst we're going. So without further ado, thank you so much for joining me today. So I'm really excited to do this because I think there is like a gap in the healthcare information sector where like I'm sure many of you have gone through the same process as I have, like going through this panic or like a state of, oh my god, I don't know what's going on with my health, like there's so many different symptoms, what's going on, right? So I wanted to like just go into quickly before I introduce myself, if you guys don't know me already, and the what we're going to be covering. I wanted to share with you like my reasons why I wanted to do this webinar specifically. There is such a big information gap, like none of us were taught these like what our bodies do. Like there are so many different symptoms that come up in our bodies, and none of us were taught about it at school. Like there are so many health concepts, like when you should be going to sleep, what you should be eating, how you should manage your stress. So many important factors like none of us were taught at school, well, at least in the UK. If you're in a different country, please let me know if you guys were taught it. But in the UK we weren't taught this, and they're basic life skills. They're really important for our health and well-being, and helps us live a happier, healthier life. And I think we should have been told it. Like I think we should have been taught as children, from parents or schools, to help us really live life better. So I'm sure some of you might have like Googled your symptoms. Like, have you ever Googled your symptoms and typed it in and been like, oh my God, cancer is the one that you go to and you're just freaked out? I mean, it's just so common because the information on the internet, it's fear mongering. There's no real common sense to it, because cancer is just a small risk factor. Most of it is a lot of other biochemical imbalances that we can work through. And actually, about 40% of the UK population has a chronic health disorder that they can't seem to get help with. Like, the NHS doesn't know how to work on your chronic health issues, do they? So they're really built for acute conditions, like if you've got a cold, or you've had an injury or something like that. You go to A&E for that. But if you go to them with, I can't sleep, or I've got depression or anxiety, that it's then have you tried walking in the park? Or like they might go straight to giving you medication. And that's where, like, there's a big gap, because there's just massive step we can do beforehand, before we get to that point. So yeah, I'm sure you all have realized that there is this gap in the healthcare sector. So that's why you're here right now. So okay, so I think it's also important to understand, like, you can take your health into your own hands. Like, it's not out of your hands. You don't have to rely on an expert like a doctor in order to help yourself. I always believe that if there is a symptom and you're feeling unwell, that there is a reason for that. Your body is trying to tell you something, that there's something wrong. So regardless of whether you've got some pain, you're chronically tired, you're always getting infections, you've got rashes, gut issues, whatever, there is a reason for that, and your body's trying to tell you what it is, but your body doesn't speak English, so that's a tricky one there. So what I'm trying to do is really help you figure out what these symptoms might be. And now, we may not get to the root cause today, because it does take a few more steps of understanding the detective work that I do. So as a functional medicine practitioner, I work on a lot of detective methods, I like to say. So yeah. Before we get to that, I just wanted to introduce myself. So if you don't know me already, I am a functional health practitioner, and I am a nutritional therapist. So I'm registered in the UK as a nutritional therapist with BANT, and that means I'm not a nutritionist per se. I'm not a dietitian, and that means I work with people with chronic health disorders. So I won't test you for your nutrient deficiencies and say you just need to correct X, Y, and Z, and then off you go. I actually work with clients on a one-to-one basis to get through chronic health disorders. So that's what I specialize in. And actually, I went through my own health journey, like when I was 21, 10 years ago now. Some of you might not know my age, but yeah, I'm a bit older than I actually look. So when I was 21, I had IBS chronically. I was constantly bloated like a balloon. I was always like looking like I was pregnant. I didn't know why. I had like pain whenever I ate something like gluten or dairy or eggs. Eggs used to make me sleepy and tired. So I had a lot of these health issues. I didn't understand why. I even had anxiety. But ever since working on a clinical basis on actually understanding the body and how it works, all of these biochemical imbalances, I was able to fix all of these issues. So that's what I'm doing with my clients now. I get this question a lot, and of where I studied. I studied at BCNH. It's not postgraduate. It's a undergraduate college in London, and it's private, so it's not a university per se, but it's linked to a university. I think they're linked to the Middlesex University at the moment. So check it out if you're interested in becoming a nutritional therapist as well. So today I've got a jam-packed day. This webinar is going to be super jam-packed. So I am trying to cover as many topics as possible. So at the beginning, I'm going to explain the functional medicine perspective and how that is going to be a game changer. Hopefully. I mean, we've been working on functional medicine for 30 years, but we're still hoping it's going to be a game changer for public healthcare. And then I'm going to go through different body systems, including inflammation and how that manifests, the digestive system, chronic tiredness and sleep, stress, infections and bacteria and viruses, mental health as well, skin and hormones. So that's what we're going to do today. And if you have any specific questions about your own health, I really recommend just writing down your question and saving it for the end. Or if it's really relevant, let me know. Just raise your hand. Okay. Okay, so a different perspective for healthcare. Functional medicine is different from your usual healthcare. So, you know, when you go to the doctor, they prescribe you usually a pill for every ill. They often go straight to the medication, but they don't really ask you questions about, oh, so what are you eating on a daily basis? How are you sleeping? Are your stress levels very high? Like, there are so many questions that you can ask an individual before you skip right to the medication. Wouldn't it be so great if our healthcare system was better at understanding each and every one of us before we went straight to the medication? Because the medication, most of the time, it can be just a band-aid solution. So if we keep giving medication but not really solving the root cause, then we can't actually solve the problem. So once you take that band-aid away, it will like the same problem will persist, right? So the functional medicine model is about looking at the individual and understanding the antecedents, which are basically the root causes, and I'll show you the tree. So the root causes, that's the antecedents, any environment issues, any trauma, genetics, and all of that. And then looking at the mediators, that's your day-to-day. So are you under stress all the time? Are you eating poorly? Are you not sleeping very well? Those are the mediators that are at play, and all of the body systems that are out of balance. And then you've got the triggers. So what's triggering, say, your anxiety? Is it stress? Is it something that at work that's causing that trigger? Is it something that's in your diet that's causing you to be inflamed? So those are the sorts of questions I would ask as a functional medicine practitioner when I get a client. So I wanted to pop this message in and let everybody know that health is dynamic. Like, health is never static. So I don't know if any of you have been diagnosed with a certain health disorder. So if you've been diagnosed with, I'm going to use anxiety as an example again. If you've been diagnosed with anxiety and you've been labeled with that, does it mean that you can never have clear your anxiety ever? No, you can definitely clear your anxiety. You can definitely get relief from anxiety. It's just a case of understanding why that anxiety has manifested. It applies to most health conditions. Some health conditions, yes, it is more difficult to solve than others, but most, I would say, like the vast majority of health issues can be helped. Okay. So on this chart, this triangle, I'd like to bring your attention to this, like, especially, I think it's such a good way of looking at healthcare. Like, at the top, the last resort should always be surgery. No one wants to go under the knife. Like that, that's really, it's risky. There can be complications. So we never want to go in under the knife unless we really, really need to. And below that should be drug therapy. That's medication. So before that, you can see all of these different pillars, or layers even, of using nutrition, your lifestyle, your natural healing power. So that's your recovery rate, your sleep, and using hormones as well if you really need to. And that should all be done before we go to medication.
Slides are not showing, so you're just talking with
sorry?
the freezing screen. We can't see your slides if you have a presentation. People are typing in the chat, and I think you can't see that either.
Oh, really? Okay, sorry, hold on a second. Can you see that? Oh, sorry, guys. It's a problem with not having a co-host, huh? Let's see, one sec. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. That took a while. I'm so sorry for that. Right. So this is the diagram I was trying to show you guys. So surgery being at the very top, drug therapy being in the second one, and everything else that you can do with your diet and lifestyle being at the very bottom. Okay. Did anyone have any questions before I go on? Because I know you weren't seeing the slides. Oh, okay, let's go on to the next one. So I briefly showed you guys this model, and I would like you to just think about this. So when we're doing when we're going through this process, I would like you guys to grab a pen and paper, or just pop this on Excel if you've got Excel open on your laptop. Just draw a grid for your symptoms that you find are the most persistent and the ones that bother you the most. So I've put acid reflux, anxiety, joint pain. Antecedents in your next column, that being your things that are simmering underneath, that might be your genetics, family history of disease, anything that might have caused you to be more at risk of something, but you might not know that, and that's completely okay. Second column would be mediator. So those are the body systems that are out of balance. And you might not know that as well. So we can work on that. So throughout the process, I hope that this will be better. So you can fill in these blanks as we go along. And the triggers you probably know your triggers. So if you do have acid reflux and you find that your like spicy food, chocolate, coffee is a problem, then you can just write that down. Okay. I'll just give you guys a few minutes a few seconds to get that written down.
Laura, in the second column, is this, so if let's say I have eczema and I write it's genetic, because I know I have a few cousins who have eczema too. Is that what I write in the second column?
Yeah, so if you put genetics or family history in antecedents, that will be that's your antecedent basically. Mediators could potentially be like foods or like gut issues that cause more of that issue to come up. So eczema is often gut, inflammation, immune dysfunction. Okay. No worries if you haven't filled in all your blanks. We will do that as we go, and I'll give you an opportunity to ask me questions about it later. So, symptoms are what you see on the tree. So that's what manifests, and they're the ones that your body's telling you, and users are telling you that there's an issue here. So, but that's just on the surface. You've got your root causes. That if we don't really address the root causes of your health problem, then the symptoms are never really going to go away. So understanding what are the root causes, like that can be your poor nutrition, it could be a toxic environment, it could be toxic relationships, it could be trauma as well, and like your genetics are quite prominent at play. And all of that, given all of that, that can also lead to body system imbalances. So if you have got poor nutrition over many years, like if you ate loads of sugar and had a very sweet tooth over many, many years, that can contribute to digestive issues as well. So that's what we're looking at. Okay. Right. So shall we get stuck into the topics? I'm going to start with inflammation. And this is what we've got. So we've got inflammation, we've got the guts, the tiredness and insomnia, stress, we've got recurrent infections, mental health, skin, and hormones. So the body is one entity. Everything is connected. So I'm always perplexed to understand why we've got cardiologists, neurologists, urologists, different types of doctors, but they're not working together. They're all working separately. Like, that is a completely flawed way of doing medicine, because you can't because if you've got if you have say for example, if you have skin issues, the skin is a reflection of your internal health, and if you have any inflammation, your body is going to push it out to your skin. So you can't just go to a dermatologist just to treat your skin, so they give you a treatment on your face without addressing the root cause, which is something that's happening inside your body, right? So inflammation. This is the biggest factor behind every single health issue. So inflammation is I don't know if you guys have come across this term. We probably have. Inflammation is a chemical reaction that happens in everybody. You have to have inflammation because your body makes it itself. Like, you can go for a run and you'll have inflammation. You can breathe and you can make inflammation. It is absolutely normal to have some degree of inflammation. But when it gets out of control, that's when things start to go wrong. So I like to describe it like a fireplace. So if you have a nice cozy fireplace under control, no problem, you're getting warm, it's really nice. But then if it starts to like catch something else on fire, then your house can be at risk of burning down. And that's when your smoke alarm should be ringing. So hopefully it doesn't burn down until very soon. You know, you get the signals from your smoke alarm telling you that you've got to do something about this, right? So this happens in the body as well. And this is the basis of all disease. Any symptom that you're feeling, so if you've got skin issues, if you've got joint pain, acid reflux, any gut issues, muscle pain, it's all inflammation. And the job of a functional medicine practitioner like myself is to find out what that inflammation is and help you resolve that. So then you can get relief from your symptoms. So if it is eczema, I'll be looking at your gut. I'll be looking at your immune system as well and seeing whether there is a dysregulation now. I'll be looking at your gut bacteria on your skin, and seeing whether there's something that we can do there. So, okay. But it's not always obvious. Like you can also get inflammation in the form of brain fog. Like have you guys ever had brain fog? I certainly have. I can't actually function when I have brain fog, and I haven't had it for years actually. I used to get it so often. I could not function without a cup of coffee. It was debilitating because I couldn't do my job. So you know, it's so common, but that is another symptom of inflammation. Another one that not many people know about would be like depression and anxiety. Yep. So depression and anxiety, we all think that it's all about emotional health. And yes, there is a degree of, things that happen in your life. Of course, they impact your mental health. But it's also to do with your chemicals and neurotransmitters and the balance of your neurotransmitters. So when there is inflammation, your body tells you, and it tells you by giving you certain symptoms, and that includes making your moods lower. Okay. Hair loss as well. When you have hair loss, that can be a big symptom because you're drawing resources away from your hair for other purposes in your body. And anemia, your body is really, really clever. I don't know if any of you have had anemia before. I think for many women in this webinar, you've probably experienced anemia. So anemia, like for men especially, you have the same amount of iron in your body more or less forever. So any iron you add to your body, it's just replenish your stores. So your body is really good at keeping your iron levels tight knit. For women, we lose it in our menstrual bleeds, so it's a bit different. But overall, your body is really good at keeping your iron levels at the right level. If you have too much inflammation, then your body will stop you from absorbing too much iron, because iron is actually inflammatory itself. So if you are anemic, that is a sign of inflammation, and it's really important to understand why you've got inflammation rather than go for the iron supplementation straight away. So if you are anemic and you want to understand why in a bit more detail, do let me know. Okay. Digestion. So it starts in the mouth. The digestive system is really interesting. It's one of my favorite topics because it's more than what people think. The digestive system does start in the mouth. I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard like the famous quotes from Hippocrates, as it starts in the gut, you know, and he talks about how all disease starts from having digestive issues. It is partly true because that's where you digest your food, you absorb your nutrients, and those nutrients feed the rest of your body. Every single cell depends on everything that you eat. So I always try to tell people nutrition is not about your aesthetics. It is aesthetics, like your appearance on the outside, is just one tiny factor of what that gets impacted by your nutrition. Every single cell in your body, like you've got trillions and trillions of cells, they are impacted by the food you eat. So make it good food. So the reason why it starts in the mouth is because you're chewing there, right? So you've got the mouth, you've got the esophagus, stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. I'm not going to talk about the pancreas today because that's about your enzyme production, but that's not so relevant today. So you've got various systems, and there's so many imbalances that you can find with gut issues. I want, if you guys could pop your hands up for, I just want to see a show of hands of how many people who have gut issues like bloating, constipation, diarrhea, abdominal pain, or even food sensitivities. Okay. Okay, cool. So we've got quite a few. Okay, cool. Okay. So I would love for you guys to pop one of those symptoms in your antecedents, mediators, and triggers box if you can. And we'll talk about it after. So the reason why I want to address this is because it is so important. If you can't digest your food, if you can't absorb your nutrients, then everything happens like a domino effect. The rest of your body will be affected. The mouth. So oral health is more important than we think. And there's a lot more work coming out, more research coming out about the importance of your oral health. It's where you're chewing your food. And you would be surprised at the amount of people that come through my door, virtual door, saying that they don't really chew their food. So I would could you guys mentally know, just think about how you chew your food. Do you rush your food? How long does it take you to finish your meal? How long does it take you to finish one bite of food? Are you chewing about 4 times, or are you chewing about 10, 20, 30 times? I personally chew about 30 times per mouthful, and it takes me about 30 to 40 minutes to finish my meal. So benchmark yourself on my speed and think about how good your digestion should be. So chewing, that is the most important thing when we're considering gut health. If you take anything from this webinar, let it be the chewing. If you chew 30 times, so it depends on the type of food you're eating. If you're eating eggs and something really soft, then yeah, okay, it might not take 30 goes. But if you're eating something like meats or vegetables, it might take you longer, so 30 to 40. It will do you a world of good if you chew adequately, because it all starts in your mouth. You have to break it all down, because you have to send the food that you eat into your stomach to break down properly. And if the rest of the digestive system can't do its job properly, then your ability to absorb your foods is going to be compromised. Okay, I'm going to skip to the stomach and show you. No, if you've eaten something and gone down to your stomach and your food is in big massive pieces, your stomach acid, which breaks down your food further and makes it into a mush, if it can't do it properly and the food goes straight to your small intestine, where you're supposed to absorb your food, your small intestine is going to think, what the hell is this food? I don't know what this is. I can't absorb this. How am I supposed to get access to any of it? So the food needs to be in microscopic micronutrients, because your small intestine is really tightly packed. Like, your cells in there need to absorb everything in microscopic nutrients. It cannot do that if you've eaten something and swallowed it whole, So before we go on to the gut issues, I would like you to evaluate, how is your oral health? Do you have any bad breath? Do you have any ulcers? Any oral thrush? Any white coating on your tongue? So looking at your tongue, I'd like you guys just to grab your phone and open the camera and look at your tongue. See if there is a white coating on your tongue. If there is a white coating, then that means there is a bit of biofilm produced by the bacteria that's in your mouth. And so that tells us there's a little bit of imbalance in your mouth, and there could be some bacteria that we don't want, and we might want to get rid of that. Okay. So when we see bad oral health, that also sometimes shows that there will be bad gut health as well in terms of bacterial balance. So that's something that I always ask my clients, is there an overgrowth of bacteria in the mouth? Because I can then see whether that is something that translates to gut health as well. Okay. stomach. So I know one person in here wants to know about stomach acid and acid reflux. So the second most important organ to do with your gut health is your stomach. That's where you're going to break everything down. So your stomach has a stomach acid pH of 1.5 to 3.5. It's very acidic. If you touch it with your skin and your hands will burn. But luckily your stomach has a protective lining that stops you from getting burnt. Okay. So it's really interesting because the research has moved forward, but medical practices haven't. Most doctors actually believe that heartburn is due to high stomach acid. That's why we have Gaviscon and other antacids and PPI inhibitors to make you produce less stomach acid. But in fact, for many people, this is actually causing you to have worsened acid reflux in future. Because what is happening is if you have lower stomach acid and you're trying to digest your food, you're going to struggle. Because the stomach acid is needed to break it down into small pieces of mush, right? So if we keep taking things like Gaviscon, you're going to reduce your stomach acid levels, and you're going to struggle with bloating. You're going to struggle with breaking down your food. Bacteria will overgrow and cause you to have bacterial overgrowth. So over time, a lot of people find that they have worsened gut issues. So other problems with the stomach can be stomach ulcers. That's one thing to watch out for. It's quite painful. H. pylori is a common stomach infection. So if anyone's ever struggled with that, that's H. pylori is a bacteria that lives in your stomach, and it's supposed to be there, but not in large amounts. And when it does, then you can get really bad acid reflux. So I've got a little exercise here. This is something for you guys to do tomorrow morning or in the following day. So if you screenshot this, so you can check your own stomach acid levels. It's called the bicarbonate of soda test. So if you mix half a teaspoon of bicarbonate soda, or AKA baking soda, into 230 mils of water, so one glass, and just drink that as soon as you wake up. And before you've had any fluids or any foods, just drink this solution, and then just put your timer on and time how long it takes you to burp. So if the time it takes for you to burp is less than 2 minutes, it means you have normal stomach acid levels. So I really recommend this if you are suffering from acid reflux at the moment. 2 to 5 minutes, you're low normal, so you should be okay. If it's towards the 5-minute mark, and I'll probably add a stomach acid supplement. If it's over 5 minutes, then you've probably got low stomach acid and you need some support there. So I would use betaine hydrochloric acid as a supplement to support you, or bitters. So you can get bitter herbs like a tincture. It's quite widely available on Amazon if you type in herbal bitters. If you can also add bittered herbs, so like rockets, watercress, dandelion, things like that will help stimulate that stomach acid production. I'm moving on to the small intestine. So small intestine is all of this bit and not this bit, because the large bit is your large intestine. The small intestine is actually so large that it can span the mass of a tennis court. It is, if it was laid all out, it's really quite fascinating. And that's because it's so bunched together that the surface area is just massive. So you can imagine if like all the tiny cells of your gut are all together, and you have to break down your food so microscopically that the individual cells in your gut can absorb the nutrients, right? So this is where you do most of your digestion. So it's where you break down your food and absorb your nutrients. But there's also 75% of your immune system is around your small intestine. So because it needs to sample all of your food that you're getting into your gut. So anything that you're eating, your body has to check it for any bacteria that it doesn't want, and tells the body to say, okay, you can take that into your bloodstream now. If not, then your body will, your immune system will attack it. So, you know, if you have had any abdominal pain when you've eaten gluten or anything that your body doesn't like, you get pain, right? And that's because your immune system is going, I don't like that. I want to get that out ASAP. And you either get diarrhea or you get constipation if it seizes up. So most of the people are like either or. So, and this is why I actually, if there's any immune issues, any eczema, any autoimmune issues, anything that is to do with like imbalanced immune system, I always look at the gut because it's right there. And another thing I always look at is serotonin and mental health. So serotonin, 90% of your happy hormone is actually made in the gut. So if your gut isn't happy, then your mental health isn't going to be happy. There is a direct telephone communication between your brain and your digestive system called the vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve is that communication. So your gut and your brain send signals to each other to tell each other messages. So, and also I find that a lot, if there's a bacterial imbalance, so too much bad bacteria sending toxic chemicals to your brain, that can really impact your mental health as well. So, common issues with the small intestine. So I get so many people coming to me with chronic bloating. So it is one of the most common symptoms because we've kind of gotten into this Western diet that promotes a lot of bacterial growth. So sugar, gut bacteria love sugar. So it has caused a lot of bloating, and I see bacterial overgrowth bacterial overgrowth in the small intestines all the time. And we're not supposed to have that much bacteria in there. Like we're supposed to have most of our bacteria in our large intestine, but only some in our small intestine. And that's where problems persist. So if you ever have excess bloating and gas, that's because the bacteria in your gut is fermenting the food that you're eating and causing gas production. And that's what makes you bloated. It might give you pain. It might cause you diarrhea. It might give you constipation. So if you have any gut issues, I always think bacteria. So let's look at that. Of course, if you chew properly from the very beginning, I actually find that not chewing properly chronically for many years is one of the main root causes of bacterial overgrowth and therefore bloating. So if you chew properly as much as you can for the next couple of weeks, see what the difference is. You might find that is something that is really profound for you. I've actually had a client, he's a doctor, he was rushing his food as doctors do because they don't have time. And then when he started to chew his food, spend more time understanding the way that he was chewing, eating mindfully, his digestive symptoms disappeared. He no longer had chronic diarrhea or bloating and gut sensitivities to certain foods. It was that profound. The diet, if you're eating too much sugar, of course, but also raw food. So, oh my God, there's been so many people on Instagram promoting the raw vegan diet lately. I don't know what's happening, but that is probably the worst diet for gut health. Humans have evolved over millions and millions of years cooking our food. You know, we found fire and we were using it to make our food, and that's why we got access to the nutrients way better than the rest of the animal kingdom. We don't see any other animal on this planet cooking their food and having none of them have brains like ours. So why are we going backwards to raw food? It doesn't make sense. Cooking helps us to break down our foods and give us access to nutrients better. Cooking kills bacteria on our foods to help reduce the amount of bacteria that is going through to our gut. Because the more raw food that we're eating that might have bacteria on it, the more that it translocates to your small intestine and might cause digestive issues. So if you have digestive issues, please cook as much of your food as possible. And also wash it, please. I have I've had a lot of clients that have come to me, and a lot of people don't actually wash their produce. So fruits and vegetables from the supermarket. A lot of people have touched it. It's been through so many stages of supply. It is so important to wash your food before you eat it. There's chemicals on it like pesticides, herbicides, and all that. You don't want that. So yeah. Okay. Right. the large intestine. This is another exercise I'd like you to do. So I would like to ask you guys, how many times a day do you go to do a poo? Is it once? Is it twice? 3 times? Because that would be great. If it's less than once a day, then you are constipated. I am sorry to say that you are constipated, regardless of whether you think that is normal for your body. If you are eating 3 times a day, roughly, then you should be pooping at least once or twice a day. Yeah. If you're really good, 3 times a day, amazing. But it's also important to note the formation of your stool. So I've got a chart here. I don't know if you've ever seen this before. You might have seen it in your doctor's office. What does your poo look like? This is a conversation that all of my clients dread because I have no problem talking about poo. I don't know about you. So you want to aim for a type 3 or 4, ideally 4. If you are starting to go towards constipation, like rabbit poo, then you got to drink more water, and you got to make sure you've got enough electrolytes, make sure you've got enough vitamins, and also fiber. Okay. If it's starting to get a bit jaggedy and blobby, and liquidy, then that's diarrhea, and we need to look at your fiber intake. Okay. So let's test that. I would like you guys to, in the next couple of days, see if you can get your hands on some beetroot. If you eat that beetroot and just count the amount of hours it takes for that beetroot to leave your body, and that will be a telltale sign of how long your gut transit time is. So the food that you eat, it should really take about 12 hours ish to get from your mouth to your anus into the toilet. So if it's too fast, like 6 hours, then you've got really fast transit time, and we've got to look at why that is. If it's really slow, so if it takes like 2 days to reach your toilet, then you've got constipation, and that's got to be worked on. And the problem with constipation mostly is that if everything's backed up, that means all your toxins, any bacteria, debris, that stays in your body way too long, and that can cause issues with liver detoxification, build-up of toxins, hormone imbalances, you name it. There's so many problems when you can't get rid of your bowels very frequently. Okay, keeping the large intestine healthy. I did mention this earlier, I think. Yeah. Let's make sure that you hydrate. Hydration is so key. I think this is the one thing I'm terrible at. I always forget to drink my water. I should probably take a drink now. But having 2 liters of water is so important. Like your body is 60% water. If you don't hydrate, then your body is going to get bloated. It's going to retain water in case you are going to get too dehydrated. It's really, really important. So fiber as well, making sure that you've got plenty of fiber. So screenshot this if you need to. Make sure your fiber intake is nice and high. I think it's really easy to hit most of your fiber intake in the morning with 2 fruits. If you're having porridge, got oats, flax seeds, chia seeds, easy peasy, with some nut butter, or maybe sprinkle some nuts on there. Easy. And if you really do have constipation, we have to get that moving. There are some nutrients here and techniques that I would recommend. So feel free to screenshot. I'll send out the slides afterwards as well. You can massage your large intestine in that direction to help it as well. Okay. So what to do if your symptoms still persist, like your gut issues? So you can ask me for help. I can help, but you can also ask other functional medicine practitioners and nutritional therapists. So the website is bant.org.uk, and you can find a whole database of nutritional therapists like myself on there. And if your gut issues don't get resolved, then I would look at doing some of this testing. Okay, we've still got loads to go, so I'm going to speed up. Energy levels. Anyone suffering from low energy levels, like chronic fatigue during the daytime? Raise your hand if so. Yeah. Nice to hear. Noel, good. Excellent. Okay, this is so normal. As you can see, loads of people are raising hands. So yeah, why are you so tired during the day? Like it's such a common symptom, right? We like to think of a good energy levels being bouncing out of bed and like being able to tackle your day, and you should be able to do that without fail most of the time. So, and to a degree. So understanding your energy levels. I don't think most people bounce out of bed like a bunny rabbit, because your cortisol levels when you wake up, say for example, like I hope you I don't know if you guys have heard of the term cortisol, but that is your stress hormone. Your stress hormone cortisol is really important to have at the right levels. You can't have none of it, because that means you won't be able to get out of bed at all and won't be able to do anything. So you have to have a good degree of cortisol. So you should have highest levels in the morning, so that it will get you out of bed. You know, when you wake up without an alarm, that's your cortisol telling you to wake up. So in the morning, it starts to rise, and about 30 minutes, an hour within waking, then that should be at its peak. So I don't personally think people bounce out of bed like a bunny rabbit if you have healthy cortisol levels, because it should be a gradual increase. If you are bouncing out and you're feeling stressed and anxious in the morning, that might be a sign of really high cortisol levels. So it might be worth looking into that. But over time, throughout the day, your cortisol levels should drop. So you get more and more tired throughout the evening. So then it's virtually undetectable. And basically your melatonin, which is your sleep hormone, rises. So you should feel sleepy afterwards. So if, for example, at around 3 o'clock, you're feeling really, really low and in need of a nap, arguably, some people say a nap is really helpful. But it depends on why you're sleepy in the afternoon. So if your cortisol levels are really low and you can't function without a cup of coffee, maybe look at whether your cortisol levels are dropping too soon. Secondly, looking at your blood sugar balance. Your blood sugar is really important, because you're supposed to keep it within a nice tight window. So if you don't know, sugar, aka glucose, is your main source of fuel. So if you have eaten a big bowl of pasta, for instance, and and if it's white pasta especially, that pasta can be broken down into sugar really, really easily. If it's brown pasta, not so much. So if you had eaten a big bowl of pasta and you just go into a food coma, that is because your blood sugar has gone up. Your body's released insulin to take it all into cells, because too much sugar is really inflammatory, and then you go down into a hypo, so your body's like crashing. And that's where you feel super lethargic, sleepy, and a bit sluggish. You might find that if you have a chocolate bar after that, that'll pick you up again. So that's what's happening. You're in that roller coaster. So understanding why your energy levels are really low is really, really important, because it could be multiple things. Okay. And also sleep. Are you sleeping well enough? Like, it's underrated. Have you guys read the book Why We Sleep? Or Why You Sleep, Why You Sleep? I think that's the title, by Matthew Walker. One of my favorite books, because it just goes into so much detail and on the importance of sleep. So, do raise your hands if you struggle with your sleep at the moment. Sleep is just so important for recovery, repair, your focus. I find that I have super sharp focus if I have had a good night's sleep. And that's if I go to bed before 11 p.m. Timing is everything. Because even if you go to bed at 1 a.m. but then get 8 hours of sleep, getting up at 9, your quality of sleep is not as good, because your body works on a body clock basis, right? In Chinese medicine, they talk a lot about making sure that you're sleeping before the 11 o'clock mark, so that you can support your recovery process. Quality is also as important as quantity. Are you waking up throughout the night? Are you, which might be due to high cortisol at night, are you waking up every now and again to go to the toilet, or because of anxiousness or stress? That's one thing to think about. So prolonged lack of sleep has lasting effects and impacts your energy levels, impacts your recovery. There is a lot of research on sleep and how it impacts your longevity and your ability to fight inflammation. So of course we all do this. We all scroll Instagram into the late hours, but we know we shouldn't. we do need to put that under control. So turning off using those app limits on your phone, turning off the blue light screen, so popping on night mode. That's really helpful. Getting blue light blocking glasses if you like. Turning off your artificial lights and popping on candles instead. Doing some relaxation techniques and meditation at nighttime. So post 9 o'clock, maybe do something that's for you, have a bath or something, making sure that you've got a right environment for sleeping. So that's really, really important. Stress. So we did touch on cortisol. So I will whiz through this. Stress is literally the most common factor that all of my clients have. It doesn't matter. Like if you had all your nutrition on point, all the right supplements, you do exercise like regularly, it doesn't matter. If you sleep really well, it doesn't matter. If you're stressed on a daily basis, that is going to be the one thing that knocks you off, knocks you for six, because when your adrenals, which are the glands on top of your kidneys, right here, which make your cortisol, if that is in overtime, then everything else gets dysregulated in your health. If you have chronic stress over many years, like if you are constantly working really, really hard at your job, or you've constantly got your stress from family or something, then basically I like to use the analogy of the boy who cried wolf. If you keep crying wolf, like there's a wolf coming at you, so your body thinks that there's something physical that's coming at you, but there's no wolf, there's no major physical stress there, but you keep saying that I'm under so much stress, your brain will start to think, oh, they're just lying, it's not true. Your brain's just going to start reducing the amount of cortisol that you make naturally. So after a while, it'll stop listening to your stresses. So that's when burnout happens. And I want to highlight this because a lot of people are burnt out and they don't realize. Burnout is when you have really low energy levels and it's hard to get out of bed. You feel like you have low motivation. You might even have depression and difficulty handling stress. Some of you might have experienced like a health issue that has come up due to stress. Do raise your hand if you have. That's a really common thing. So if you've had an infection, trauma, like an injury or something, or even like like emotional stress, like going through a difficult time with your relationships or whatever, that's traumatic to the body, and you perceive that in the same way as you would if your tiger was coming at you. So having stress dysregulation is really important and to note. And if you do, then something to do would be to rebalance your stress signals. And that would be making sure that you have time for yourself and relaxing, sleeping well, working with someone to help you with that. So I like to do massages, meditation is a great one. There are so many things. And if you do need further support, then supplements are available to support your circadian rhythm. Okay. So I wanted to show you this. So I do a lot of testing around stress hormones and cortisol. So this graph is your, like on the y-axis is your cortisol levels, and this is time. So within waking, 30 minutes, 60, afternoon, night. So if you fall inside this, the gray lines, that means you're normal. This person is within 30 minutes, they're super stressed. What's happening here? Okay, so they've clearly got so much on there to do this, and it is driving them crazy. So that is causing them to be very stressed. And then they go into a crash in the afternoon, so they might feel really sleepy. But then it's rising again. So at night, they're struggling to fall asleep. So that is not burnout, but it's getting there. And when you do burn out, when your brain stops listening to you, then your cortisol levels can get really low. So if you do recognize that burnout, like if you see that sort of pattern in your own health or someone else's health, it is so important to recognize that and do something about it, because it is really hard to get out of burnout. If it's been years, it's not impossible. It's harder than getting down from here though. So I always try to get people to recognize when they've got burnout. So what to do if your symptoms still persist? If you're still low in energy, do these. So balance your blood sugar, work on your sleep, stress levels. But there are tests that you can also do, and there are lots of things that we can do with a practitioner. So if you do need more help, do let me know. Okay. Next. Mental health. I love mental health. It is my favorite. I'm going to say a lot of favorite topics, but it's one of my favorite topics. So it's not all in your head. There's so much like emotional events. A lot of things can impact your mental health, of course, and talk therapy can help you improve your mental health and work through difficult situations. Of like, it's not just about the chemicals, but I think a lot of people and practitioners, like health practitioners and doctors, they fail to look at the fact that it is a chemical reaction. Mental health is all about your neurotransmitters and how you produce them and your ability to produce them. So your dopamine and serotonin, they are made of proteins, and they're dependent on B vitamins, and you need vitamin C and D to help you convert and make them. So say if someone had gut issues, or if you had a restrictive diet and you weren't eating very much, and you're not covering all your bases with your nutrition, then how is your body going to make adequate levels of serotonin and dopamine? So serotonin is your happy hormone, dopamine is your reward and pleasure hormone. In people with depression and anxiety, both of these neurotransmitters are quite low. So it's really important to connect the dots between your nutrition, your gut, and your mental health. Okay. There are some, I see loads of people with anxiety and depression. So there are some tests that I like to run, but I always start with a full blood count, full blood test. So if you're interested, let me know and I'll send you the list of markers to get from your doctor, or I always get them done privately because the NHS is a bit stingy at the moment, for various reasons. I also do other testing as well. So there's so much you can do with mental health. Hormones. Hormones are so interesting. I like to explain hormones like a symphony, like a song. So you've got your so your brain is like your composer of an orchestra, right? And then you've got your thyroid gland, which is like your body's thermostat. It controls your temperature, controls of various things. But your it's like your thyroid is like your percussion set, so like your drums, and it makes the beat of your song basically. I'm not a musician. I have musicians in the family. I know a little bit about music or whatever. So yeah, that's your percussion. And I like to think of your adrenal hormones like your brass instruments, so like the trumpets and the trombones, the saxophones, the ones that make a really like a really loud tune. And then your sex hormones being from your ovaries and your testes, being your violinist, your strings, and they make this beautiful beautiful tune. So all together, all your hormones have to work properly. So if there is any imbalance in your hormonal production, you'll know about it because you'll feel like your song is not being sung properly. So if you're feeling low in energy, you've got mental health imbalances, and I like to say imbalances because everybody has mental health to a degree, and it can be from like highs and lows, and everybody has those. If you've got hormonal imbalances for your sex hormones, so like for females, if you've got any hormone imbalances in terms of period irregularities and missing periods, or like heavy bleeds or PMS, all of that is to do with sex hormone imbalance. For guys, if it's lack of libido, lack of motivation, erectile dysfunction, or even trouble building muscle, that's really important, and that's a good indicator of lack of testosterone. So ask yourself, is your song being sung properly? So I've just written down a few of these symptoms for women and men on hormone imbalances. There are more, but this is a general view on certain hormone imbalances. So I'd like you to think about that and see, like, check in with yourself. How is your sex drive? Are your menstrual cycles regular? Are you getting lots of mood swings? Any PMS symptoms like acne coming up? For guys, do you feel like you've got low libido, low sex drive? How are your energy levels? And do you build muscle very easily? All good questions to ask. And what to do if your symptoms persist. So the reason why I've put these slides in is because there's always more you can do. If you find that you're at wit's end with your health, like, there is always a solution. If you continue to have normal bloods from your blood test and your doctor says everything is fine, like, don't take that for an answer. Like, just keep digging, keep finding an answer, because it is out there. It's just a case of finding the right data, asking the right experts, the people who understand your health properly. Okay. Infections. Oh, who remembers? Who still drinks Yakult? I have a confession to make, because I still love Yakult and I can't. It's a childhood memory, nostalgic and all that. So my mom has it, so I sometimes grab it. So yeah, I don't know if you remember the advert when the guy was just like, bacteria, and then I remember that advert because that was the first time I really noticed bacteria was a thing. And since then, I suppose I've been a little bit of a germaphobe. So yeah. Yakult, being a probiotic drink, it doesn't actually work that much. It just tastes nice. But anyway, your whole body is full of bacteria. There's bacteria, viruses, parasites, yeasts, or hopefully no parasites, but your body is full of microbes that live symbiotically with you. You're supposed to have this relationship with your bacteria, and they're supposed to look after you whilst you look after them, because you're their house and they're just looking after it by keeping it tidy and all that. Okay, so your commensal bacteria are your army, basically, and they keep the bad bacteria at bay. So any flu viruses, any viruses or bacteria that cause you a problem, your good bacteria should keep them at bay. But what happens if your good bacteria is not quite strong enough? So think about it as an army. If your army hasn't really got strong warriors, then you're going to struggle with fighting that infection, right? So if you've ever struggled with a recurrent infection, like a recurrent UTI or recurrent thrush or recurrent, like, a cough. I used to get, like, since COVID, I got a cough that wouldn't go away for years. Only recently it's gone away. So think about that. Like, when I think of recurrent infections, I'm looking at two things. Is it the balance of bacteria? Is it my immune system struggling to deal with the infection? So I'm thinking about the regulation of inflammation, because your symptoms that come up with an infection is due to the inflammation. So, when you catch a cold, the cold symptoms come way after you've actually dealt with the infection. So it's really interesting. Most of the symptoms are due to your own immune system causing the inflammation. Okay, so I always work on balancing the microbiome. So looking at the gut specifically, if you've got an overgrowth of bacteria causing gut issues and whatnot, I would definitely rebalance those. So you can do that through looking at stool tests and then using certain supplements for that. So super important. I've got a list of tests that I would do if I found a bacterial imbalance. So stool tests, vaginal microbiome tests. Sorry, there isn't one for guys, unfortunately, at the moment. Most guys don't really suffer from thrush that much, so mostly it's women. If you have recurrent UTIs as well, that's a really good test. Oral microbiome. If you've got any oral thrush, that's really important to check. So yeah. Skin is a big issue. So I don't claim to be a specialist in skin, but I don't think it's that difficult to solve. To be honest, I may be wrong. Please do correct me. So the skin is always basically shows you what's happening underneath. As I said earlier, your body pushes toxins out to your skin. So your skin and your fat cells are the most safest places for your body to put toxins. So especially if you have constipation or difficulty sweating, so your elimination pathways are really challenged. your body's going to put these toxins on the surface of your skin, so that it's away from your vital organs, basically. So if you have hives or pimples, eczema, anything that is on the surface of your skin, is telling you that there's imbalance inside. So I would always look at that. Pimples, if you've got acne, hormonal acne, look at why you've got hormonal acne. Is there more testosterone being produced? If the testosterone is high, it will cause more sebum production. If you've got spots on your forehead, I tend to find that's food sensitivities. And if it is to do with bacterial imbalances, I would look at whether like certain body washes might cause a problem. Are you sensitive to certain skincare products? Good questions to ask. Okay. For skin, definitely always work on the gut. Secondly, always remove as much sugar as you can. So sugar being the white stuff that you put in tea, or the chocolate bars and the cookies and everything. There's so much hidden sugar in our foods. I would also look at removing refined carbohydrates, so white breads, white pasta, and swapping them for more complex carbohydrates to reduce your blood sugar spikes. Supporting skin health with omega-3s, zinc, vitamins A, C, E, and D, super important. And also working on your hormone balance. So those are the things that you can do to support your skin health if you have got issues with the skin. Okay, so shall we visit our investigation boards? How are they looking? So I have filled in a few of them. I've not filled in some of them, so popped unsure just in case. Just in case, most people don't know their antecedents until they work with a professional. So would someone like to explain, like read out one of their symptoms at all? And then we'll go through it.
I can share mine.
Go ahead.
So I've had eczema since I was a child, and it keeps coming and going. I've noticed that it is genetic because I have cousins who also have eczema, or it's friends in the family. I believe it is a gut inflammation, and I think it's triggered by, I mean, the things that I notice is when I'm extra, like if I'm sweating, if I go to the gym, or if I'm in a hot area and it's sunny and hot, it does get inflamed. Also, if I swim in a pool with chlorine, it right away gets inflamed. And I think maybe spicy food, I'm not even sure if that affects it. Yeah, but mostly I think stress. If I'm under mental stress, I feel like it becomes super itchy and it gets inflamed. So that's my main.
Okay. So yeah, it sounds like you've got a so basically when we have eczema, your immune system is basically reacting to the bacteria on your skin surface. So most of the bacteria on your skin is actually completely harmless, and you shouldn't really be reacting to it. So I would be looking at whether there is any immune imbalance. So we have to kind of work on the immune system and reduce your reaction to the bacteria in your skin. So I wouldn't be surprised if chlorine exacerbates it, because chlorine kills bacteria, right? So if you have, for example, a lack of bacteria already, like good bacteria in your skin, if your chlorine is cutting more of that bacteria over, then more of the bad bacteria can overgrow. And then your immune system is likely to flare up again, right? So I would pop gut health on there, immune system regulation on the immune system balance in the middle. And I would actually run a stool test if I were you. I'd run a stool test, look at what bacteria is like missing, because if your skin bacteria is out of balance, it's more than likely that the bacteria inside is out of balance as well. So that, do you have any food sensitivities?
Not that I didn't test for it, to be honest, but I know that I do bloat after excess carb, like gluten. Yeah, I eat yogurt and I'm fine, but like milk, I'm not. So I'm not sure. I haven't done a test.
Okay. Yeah, it'll be interesting because often I find food sensitivities at this with the like as a common
Yeah.
what's the word I'm looking for? It's common to see food sensitivities with eczema basically because basically when we're looking at the gut, the small intestine where most of your immune system is, if there is dysregulation in the gut where your immune system's like reacting to certain things, it's more than likely that it's impacting your eczema as well. So I would work on that, removing those foods, healing the gut, making sure your gut health is supported before reintroducing those foods.
And do you think there are certain supplements that I should also introduce at this time?
I would say see how you get on with a probiotic, L-glutamine to support your gut health, bone broths if you can tolerate bone broth, like collagen rich foods as well, and anti-inflammatories I'd say. Yeah, work on anti-inflammatories like omega-3, vitamins A, C, E. Vitamin D, super important. Most people actually, the research says that most people with eczema have a vitamin D deficiency. So does it improve when you're in the summer, in the sun?
When I'm in the sun, if it's not too hot. So sun and sea definitely heal it. Like right now, I just came back. On. But yeah, so it does help.
Okay, yeah. So it would be interesting to see if you test your vitamin D levels and see where they're at. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. Is there anyone else that would like to share their board?
I can share. For the trigger, is that like what you're craving, basically? Is that what
triggers are more the things that would trigger your symptoms. So if like what's your symptom?
Well, I'm reading this and I feel my symptoms probably, yeah, so the mediator is definitely stress and the symptom is probably
Common.
Yeah, it's me. Sorry, I didn't.
I was wondering who that is. I was like, I recognize
I'm on
this
my
voice.
work laptop, and it doesn't have. I don't really use Zoom much. Sorry, it's me. Hi.
Oh.
I joined a bit late.
Okay, no worries. So
yeah.
Go on.
But I just read that and I was like,
Okay.
oh, I definitely suffer from stress, as you know me personally, and
Yeah.
I really crave chocolate and coffee, and that's why I was like, oh, is that like not the symptom, but is that why I crave chocolate and coffee? Because I'm stressed.
Probably, yeah, because if you're stressed, you're craving that cortisol rise, or you're craving sugar to feed your basically, if you put it this way, if you are running away from a tiger because that is your stressor, you need fuel, so you're going to seek things that will fuel your getaway. So sugar, caffeine, chocolate has magnesium because you need that for your muscles. There are so many things that your body would crave in that situation. So that was probably more of a symptom of the cause, but a trigger would be stress, basically.
Right, I see. Yeah.
I hope that helps.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay. Good. So let's see. If anyone wants to ask present their board later, I'd like feel free to. I'll just move on very quickly. So I just wanted to bring you back to this tree. I would like you guys to think about your symptoms and see what rethink about your root causes, what might be at play. Like you can go through these slides again, and then think about the symptoms that are manifesting, like what is actually happening underneath. So if you need help with figuring that out, feel free to let me know. And if you are still feeling unwell, the answer is still out there. Like as I said earlier, don't let the doctor say that your bloods are normal and then off you go on your merry way. Like don't take that for an answer. If you're still feeling unwell, there's always some solution out there, regardless of what you're feeling. So yeah. Okay, I hope that has helped. Helped if you just get a different perspective on health. I mean, a lot of us just bear with our symptoms for years and years, and rather than working on the root causes, because there's always something that we can do. So I really do hope that has empowered you to keep searching. So yeah, thank you so much for your time. I'm just going to do some questions. Right. Apple cider vinegar for stomach acid regulation. I do actually. Yes, so stomach acid is something that I use with my clients. If you do have low stomach acid, I would recommend adding a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar into a cup of water and drinking that before your meal. So that will not only supplement your stomach acid levels, but also it stimulates your actual stomach acid production. So stomach acid is something that keeps lowering and lowering over time, because we are not preparing meals the same way as we used to. So if you spend a long time cooking your meals and you're smelling that food, smelling the smells that fill the room, it sends signals to your brain to tell your stomach to make more stomach acid, and your digestive enzymes to get produced as well. But if we're microwaving a meal or grabbing something to go or going to a restaurant or like a fast food restaurant, we're getting that food too soon because your body's not really ready. So I like to add a few things before a meal to stimulate stomach acid production. So digestive bitters like herbs, like rockets, dandelion, watercress, those are really good. Apple cider vinegar, of course. So definitely recommend that. Stomach feels uncomfortable, not non-hot foods. Yeah, that's so important. So as I said earlier, with gut health, raw food is probably the worst thing you can do for your gut health. So don't do the raw diet. I remember like 10 years ago, raw food was all the rage, and it's come back for some reason. Of course, some salads are fine, like cucumbers and stuff like that. Easy to digest vegetables and fruits, of course, are absolutely fine. If everything is raw, then it gets a bit difficult. Can't eat beetroot. Is there anything that I could use? I would say sweet corn. Have some sweet corn and do the same time, how long it takes for it to get through your gut. So, any other questions at all? Anyone want to take the floor or go through your investigation board? Okay, feel free to message me separately as well. If you want to stay on, if you have any questions about your health, I'm happy to answer them. I'm actually offering everybody on this call if you want to do some more in-depth support and you need further help, just let me know, because I'm giving everybody 10% off any of my programs, and that's lifetime. So feel free to use that. Okay, great. Thank you so much for your time today. Oh, I've got a question. Do you look into the symptoms of neurodivergence such as ADHD? Yes. In fact, I have ADHD myself. Well, not formally diagnosed, but I have ADHD tendencies. And when you look at that, it's all to do with the deficiency of dopamine. So dopamine is your pleasure hormone, right? So your ability to maintain your dopamine levels is really dependent on your basically impacts your ADHD symptoms. So yeah, totally. There's so much we can do with ADHD. There's loads and loads. So it's a really fascinating topic. Yeah. Any of Aliyah, would you like to take the floor?
Right, yes, so really helpful. Thank you so much. I don't know how relevant this question is. It's just something I've seen a lot online, and it's a concern I had after working abroad as well. But what about parasites?
Oh yeah, interesting. So you know what, I came across a lot of health practitioners on the internet selling parasite cleanses, and alarm bells rang for me. You shouldn't be doing parasite cleanses, especially if you haven't got one. Most people in the Western world don't actually have a parasite. There's been, for some reason, lots of information on it, and I think it's really misleading. I run stool tests quite a lot, and I don't really see parasites that often. Sometimes I might see the odd blastocystis parasite, which is a really normal parasite to have. And if you have it, it usually doesn't cause problems. And I don't think it's worth doing a parasite cleanse to tamper with your gut microbiome unnecessarily, because what you can do with the parasite cleanse is cause an antibiotic effect on the rest of your microbiome. And if you do that, that can lead to gut issues, because if you clear lots of bacteria, then the bad bacteria have a chance to grow back, and then that's where you can get more overgrowth later on. So I would always be really, really wary of that. If you do suspect a parasite, so if you have diarrhea all the time, you have like unexplained symptoms, and someone that you're working with has confirmed that, then I would do a investigation for parasites. And then if you do have one, I would do a parasite cleanse. I would never go straight to the parasite cleanse. I think it's really irresponsible for them. So I hope that answers your question.
Oh, it does. Thank you so much. Because and I don't know if it's just me, but a lot of the sort of functional practitioners online that I came across, I mean, it's mostly Americans, and they're trying to convince you that you need to do like a coffee enema every 6 months. So I just wanted someone to offer like another perspective.
Yeah, coffee enema, I sometimes recommend that only if someone has a certain issue, like heavy metal toxicity. If you've got confirmed heavy metal toxicity, then coffee enemas are great. That's why I've like championed testing so much. Like, I don't ever do something unless I'm certain that problem is persisting. So if someone has a parasite and I suspect it, I would only treat it there. If I don't know, I would never treat it. So coffee enemas depends on your symptoms to see if it could be helpful in other respects. Does that help?
No, it does. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Great. Anybody else? Anybody have any questions? You can ask me anything. Feel free to raise your hand. Okie dokie. No worries. So if anyone wants to book in a free 30-minute discovery call with me, feel free. You can message me on Instagram or email me after, and I'm happy to book that in for you. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I hope you enjoyed it. You can watch this. I'm going to send the recording out and I'll give you access to the slides, so you can make your notes and all of that. And if you have any concerns, any health anxieties, do let me know and message me. Okay. Have a great evening. Speak to you all soon. Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Laura.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.